Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today for another indoor version of Convertible Conversations. It looks like winter outside here in Kansas. It's dark and gray and kind of misty. It's not too cold, but it's too cold to be outside, especially with the top down on the convertible. So thanks for joining me indoors today. Last week and this week, we're talking about the fruit of the Spirit. The qualities or characteristics or character qualities, if you will, that come from God, that the Holy Spirit in us produces in us. They start with love, and then everything else flows from God's perfect, unconditional love that always does what's best for the other person. So the fruit of the Spirit that we talked about last week, in addition to love, are joy, peace, and patience. And today in this week we're going to talk about the others. Today we're going to talk about kindness. One of the fruit of the Spirit is kindness. And when we talk about things that come from the Holy Spirit, we know that those are things that anytime we see kindness coming from us or another person, that actually comes from God. It comes from God in us. It's not our normal nature to be kind. Normally, the Bible calls that living by the flesh, or you can call it your ego or whatever you want. But generally, just left to ourselves, we're going to be selfish, and our ego's going to take over, and we're going to want what's best for us and not necessarily what's best for someone else, unless, of course, we can get something out of it. We can get some kind of accolade, or we can get some brownie points, or maybe get somebody else to think we're a nice person or do something for us. Now, that sounds pretty harsh, but really that's kind of the way it is. So kindness, I've been thinking about that, and to me, it means it's really like the Trinity's unconditional love that continually flows and is always giving, always doing what's best for the other person, not caring who gets any credit or anything like that. It's like a river of living water, this kindness is, just pouring out of us all the time. Now, we know that nothing bad or evil comes from God. So everything good does come from God. So when kindness comes out of us, that's God, that's Jesus in us, being kind to other people, using our body and our personality and our speech and everything, doing it as us. Kindness is basically doing what's best for another person. Rather than keeping and storing and hoarding up things, it's giving, just giving away. It's always doing something best for the other person. And there's this inexhaustible supply in us. We don't have to conjure it up or work at being kind. When we just surrender, if you will, to the Holy Spirit and let Jesus take over our lives, He is kind as us. Being kind means, to me, it means not judging, not condemning other people, not putting any limits on your love for them, not putting any conditions on it. Kindness, an example of kindness would be giving someone the last piece of pie at Thanksgiving dinner, even if you haven't had one yet. It's kind of giving up our rights. Kindness is not pointing out other people's faults, even when they seem obvious to me and to us, and there's something in us going, well, somebody has to point out those faults. Sometimes I think religious folks, myself included, we sort of have this inner voice in us saying, well, they're bad, they're doing bad things, and somebody has to point that out, so it's our job. Well, that's not our job. Actually, it's to their benefit and to our benefit if we don't point out faults. Now, if somebody's getting hurt physically, or somebody's stealing something or taking advantage of somebody, that's another thing. But if somebody's just not doing, quote, the right thing or the way we'd like things to do, kindness would say, don't point that out. Jesus said one time, don't judge other people, because if you do, you're going to be judged. And I don't believe He meant God is going to judge you, because He tells us over and over again He doesn't judge us. I think that what He means is if you point out other people's faults and you judge them, they're going to turn around and point out your faults. We see that all the time on TV. When a TV show, a news program will have two people of different political parties, especially with the election and that kind of stuff, and the moderator will ask the one person, well, what about your guy and your politics and your party doing this? And they will immediately say, well, what about the other party doing that? So when somebody brings up something that in their mind you're doing wrong, it's real easy for them to turn right around and judge you and say, well, yeah, but you're doing this, or you did that, or whatever. Kindness, to me, is forgiving other people when they don't deserve it. I mean, nobody deserves forgiveness, right? It's grace. Kindness is overlooking offenses. It's forgiving even when people don't even ask for us. It's meeting and going beyond expectations. It's just doing what's best for the other person. So those are just some things that have come up to me in the last few days and thinking about that. And again, this is not that we try to do these things or work these things up in our own strength. We just rest and relax, kind of breathe out and say, okay, Jesus, you live in me. Would you live as me and be kind to these other people it's kind of hard for me to be kind to them right now. So would you do that as me? And then kind of get out of the way and let him do it. That's when it gets to be really fun. And not even taking any credit for being kind, because it's all Jesus. Hope that's helpful. See you tomorrow. We're going to talk next couple of days. We're going to talk about goodness and gentleness. Thanks for watching.